I tell you what, Brother Handy, it is just so wonderful to be back in Studio B. This is Dr. Kentrell Liddell. How are you doing today, brother? Boy, I tell you, you're just as smooth as the music I was hearing on the way over here. Man, I started to pull over, but look, we'll talk about that after the show. Listen, just as Brother Handy introduced the show, good evening, everyone. Want to welcome you to the Dr. Frank McCune show. You know that the information shared during this hour, either by the host or a guest, is for educational purposes and does not constitute medical, legal, financial, or tax advice. For specific advice applicable to your situation, please contact a licensed certified professional, preferably one with whom you have a relationship with, because relationships really do matter. Good evening again, everyone, and welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Frank McCune Show. Mr. Michael Thompson and Mrs. Gloria McCune are off today. Brother Michael is working the polls, and we're just so grateful for his service. I am your guest host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, the host of the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution, heard right here on WMPR 90.1 FM every Tuesday morning from 7 until 8. That's 7 to 8 a.m., not p.m. And we also stream live on our foundation's YouTube channel, and that's Test Taking Solution Foundation. And we invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not in range of the radio station. Okay, if you can't get the frequency, WMPR 90.1 FM, I don't quite know where you are because it's streaming all over the world. We got folks calling us from Africa saying they listen to the show. Listen, we also have some other affiliate stations that you can listen to down in Hattiesburg, WGDQ, where God did it quickly. On this episode this morning, when I talked about literacy, I really focused on education literacy. And so that was this morning. If you missed the show, you certainly missed a treat. The call-in number here at the station is 601-948-5950. And I'm right here at the station in Studio B. Today is the day, the City of Jackson's mayoral Democratic primary election. We should know later, in a few hours at least, if there will be a runoff. The different platforms have been shared by the candidates themselves. Opinions have been shared by many who either know the candidates, have worked with the candidates, or even by the candidates themselves. We've had many different types of forums all over the city. And it's just been wonderful getting to know several of the candidates on a personal level. The Clarion Ledger reported yesterday that 11 candidates failed to file a campaign finance report. The deadline to file the latest campaign finance reports was 5 o'clock on Wednesday, March 25th. According to the Clarion Ledger's reporting, only 5 of our Jackson mayoral candidates did their homework. Yeah, only 5 of them turned in the homework, turned in those campaign finance reports. They met the deadline. If eligible, I sure hope that you took the time to get out to vote today. If you have not done so, you still have time. Go vote. The polls don't close until 7 p.m. Any voter in line at 7 o'clock is legally entitled to cast a vote. Okay, you can still cast that ballot. There are not many other privileges afforded to us that I know of greater than the right to vote, to cast a ballot, to let our voices be heard. It's free to cast a vote. And so we don't have to speak to anyone. Just walk into that booth and unleash the power of your vote. As I did on the Literacy Hour this morning, I want to acknowledge a local nonprofit organization called Mississippi Move. And they gave rides to voters throughout the day with their Rolls to the Polls service. I like that. Doesn't it have a nice ring? Roll to the polls. Local military veteran Mr. Michael Jordan has volunteered his transportation company to transport people to the polls for the past 6 years that I know of. Mr. Jordan has been operating his transportation company for 11 years. So kudos to him, man. It's tough out here to run a business, and he's been doing it, helping senior citizens and the disabled get to where they need to go. Thank you so much, Mr. Jordan. We're so grateful to you and your team for caring about others. And I'm thankful for Mississippi Move. So visit Mississippi Move's website to learn more about them. The website is easy to remember. It's msmove.org. Or you can call them on the phone, 662-205-6683. In case you want to get in touch with Mr. Jordan, or if you want to volunteer with them to help transport people to the polls the next time we have an election. Again, want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Dr. Frank McCune Show. The late Dr. Frank McCune was my mentor, and he was my friend. He was an exceptional physician. I cannot begin to tell you all of the amazing tricks of the trade, if you will, that I learned from him. He really cared about people, and especially those whom he served directly. He cared about whether or not they got better under his care. He was the one who introduced me to the medium of radio. Yeah, I was just a family medicine resident doctor when Dr. McCune called me one day and said that he wanted me to co-host the show with him a few days a month. And as a matter of fact, I think Brother Handy was with us way back then. Man, that's been some years. He's watched me grow up. I did that. I was terrified, but Dr. McCune helped me out and caused me to be less anxious. And then whenever he got to the point that when he had to fly out of the country, okay, he traveled a great deal. And whenever he would need to be out of town, he would ask me to host the show. And man, that seems like eons ago. I know that he would be so proud to know that I'm not as fearful anymore. I'm sitting here right now, guest hosting the show that still bears his namesake today. Man, rest in peace, Dr. McCune. I would like to think that I'll get to see him again someday. But I will do what he would have done had he been here today, and that's carry on the business well, decently, and in order. So let's talk about some breaking healthcare related news. Physician groups are worried about cuts to health and human services. It's happening. Started happening this morning around 5 a.m. Folks started getting the notification that, hey, you might be on your way into work, but you're just coming in to pick up your stuff because you have to go right back home. You're laid off. You're fired. Yeah, so we have several physician groups sounding the alarm over the HHS staffing cuts. It's a pretty big deal. Leading physician organizations are voicing strong opposition to the United States Department of Health and Human Services. That's what that HHS stands for, Health and Human Services. And they made the decision to cut approximately 10,000. I mean, let that sink in. That's a lot of people. They're cutting those full-time positions, warning that the move could undermine patient care. We know this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that we will disrupt public health initiatives and exacerbate existing challenges within our nation's healthcare. I will even say, sort of weak infrastructure is certainly uh, been under attack lately. And any attack that comes for our healthcare infrastructure is not a good thing. I mean, we're already weak, right? A lot of bureaucracy, and I understand what the administration is getting at, trying to cut fraud, waste, and abuse. But wow, man, I really wish they had chosen to use a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer. My goodness, or is it an axe, or maybe it's a chainsaw they're using? I'm not sure, but it feels like it. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and the American College of Physicians released a joint statement expressing their alarm and their concern over all of these workforce reductions. These cuts, along with the previous reductions now, I mean, this is just the fresh round. There's already been a round of reductions, but it has shrunk the HHS staffing by more than 20%. I remember seeing to not quite understand. I guess we don't begin to really understand until it hits home. They put out a statement, and the statement reads, let me see if I can find it here, quote, "Our members see the critical work done by HHS employees each day, and we are therefore alarmed and concerned." See, I told you so. By the sweeping cuts announced this week to HHS staff, its regional offices, and internal agencies. Laying off 20% of the HHS workforce will not make America healthier. It will threaten our members' ability to care for their patients at a time when we need to be strengthening the physician workforce. Amen to that. And our national healthcare infrastructure, double amen, as we confront a growing measles outbreak, end quote. I'm so glad they mentioned that measles outbreak. I'm going to talk a lot about that during this hour. Again, you're tuned into the Dr. Frank McCune Show. I'm Dr. Kentrell Liddell. I am guest hosting, standing in for Brother Michael Thompson and Sister Gloria McCune. They're working polls and serving people as they do so very well. And I'm just standing in for them, doing the best I can to bring some important news to our listening audience. Let's keep going. The FDA approves first ever home test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomoniasis. During our literacy hour, which is heard every Tuesday morning from 7 to 8 a.m., particularly on second Tuesdays, Health Literacy Tuesday, I talk about this. We mentioned this when they were first considering it. Well, the FDA has now approved the test, okay? It's an at-home test. So for those of you who are ashamed to go to the health department or to your provider to get tested for these sexually transmitted infections, STIs, I hope that you will consider these home tests. But now the verdict is still out about how good they are. But I tell you now, the FDA, as far as I know of their practices, they tend to have very strict and stringent practices before they approve any sort of test. They take it through several rounds of investigations and research. So the fact that the FDA has approved the test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomoniasis at home says a lot. I'm looking for the one they're going to approve for syphilis. My goodness. I mean, it's on the rise, and we just need to be very vigilant. The key takeaways, I want you to know the name of the test. It's the VISB, V-I-S, that's V as in volleyball, medical test. It's the first at-home diagnostic for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trich. All right, that's short for trichomoniasis. the one that kind of swims around. Yeah, if you looked at it under the microscope, that's exactly what it'll be doing, just kind of flapping around. Um, and so you don't need a prescription. They say that you can get this medical test without a prescription and that the results come back in 30 minutes. Man, I'm making myself a note. Got to go check this out and see exactly how the test is administered and just learn a lot more about it. But they say that the test has demonstrated high accuracy, identifying over 97% of positive and negative samples for the 3 STIs. STIs, okay, go ahead, tell yourself what it stands for: sexually transmitted infections. Yeah, and that's a pretty nice test, pretty sensitive, detecting 97% of positives. That's a pretty big deal. And negatives, all right. So positive in disease and negative in health. If you don't have it, it it has a very, very high likelihood of telling the truth that you don't have it. That's what that number means. So yeah, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, they granted marketing authorization to Visby Medical. So hey, get ready. You're probably going to see them marketing on television, radio, and other media, including print media, about this Visby Medical. And it's the Visby Medical Women's Sexual Health Test. Wait a minute, now I don't know how I feel about that. Visby Medical Women's Sexual Health Test. That's a mighty long name. And I wonder why they put women in there. I mean, everybody, we all can catch chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomoniasis. Why are you going to put the women out there on Front Street? Visby Medical Women's Sexual Health Test, the first at-home diagnostic test. Shoot, I want FDA should have seen that now and should have known they was going to get some pushback on that. Why they put women in the name of this test. The test, I see now. They say it's designed for females regardless of symptoms. Wait a minute now. Wait. So they're discriminating with this test, just designed it for women? Okay. All right. Well, it's better than nothing, huh? So at least, again, for those of you reluctant to go into a healthcare provider to get tested, think about this test. Now, I don't know how much it costs. We got to figure all that out. But you just hold tight. I'm telling you, if you tune in on Tuesdays to the Literacy Hour, I'm telling you, I'm going to figure it out after doing some research, my team and I, and we're going to bring that information to you. And if you figure it out first, then you call in and share it with everyone else. Guys, we all want to be informed. Home tests can give people information about their health in the privacy of their home. And so that's the upside about this, right? The FDA's authorization comes at a time when sexually transmitted infections remain a significant public health concern. According to the CDC, that stands for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I mean, they didn't call it CDCAP, okay? They just call it the CDC. But it's the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. More than 2.2 million cases of chlamydia and gonorrhea were diagnosed and reported in our country in 2023. Additionally, trichomoniasis is estimated to be the most prevalent. Did you hear me? Trich is the most prevalent non-viral STI worldwide, affecting approximately 2.6 million people in the U.S. So this Visby Medical Women's Sexual Health, I'm not going to call it, I'm going to call it Visby test, because I don't know. This Visby Medical Women's Sexual Health Test is touching me in a certain kind of way, maybe because I'm a woman. And the Visby test consists of a single-use collection kit, okay, with self-collected vaginal swabs. All right, now we know why it's a women's test. Men, you don't have vagina. So we understand. Maybe they're working on one to detect these same infections in men, because I know our men want to know too. Have they been infected by somebody? The women ain't all right. I'm telling you right now, right here on WMPR 90.1 FM, we women ain't all right. No. And so the men need to be able to test themselves at home as well. Well, men, you're going to have to wait a while. This test has just been approved by the FDA, and it is for the women. They're going to self-collect a vaginal specimen. Okay. And the test, they again said, demonstrates high accuracy in all the evaluations that they did. While the test provides a convenient and private option for STI screening, though, the FDA does advise that individuals who receive a positive result should seek medical care. And it is my sincere hope that if you're at home testing yourself for an STI and that test result comes back positive, I mean, if it halfway looks like it's positive, if it's supposed to be red and it turns pink, I mean, please get to a health provider. These diseases can lead to some unbearable and very unwelcome complications. You don't want that. You do not want that. So please, if you do decide to test at home and the test comes back positive, go ahead and seek further testing. And I also want to caution, because as a physician now, I know that there's also the potential risk of false positives, meaning that, the test might come back positive and you might not have anything. That's why still going to seek out further testing at a healthcare clinic is so important. And there's a risk for false positives. There's a risk for false negatives, right? It's negative when it really, really should be positive. So this happens. No test is 100% sensitive or specific, right? No test is 100% perfect, just like no person is 100% perfect. I only know of one being who is 100% perfect, and his name is Jesus. For those of you who are not Christians like I am, I mean, you can keep your dial tuned right here to WMPR 90.1 and continue to listen if that my stance doesn't bother you. But if it does, just go ahead and turn to another station. I hate to lose you, but it is what it is. I'm standing on what I know. There is one perfect being, and his name is Jesus Christ. Anyway, I want you to be aware of this FDA new approved home test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomoniasis. Now, we thought that we had taken care of measles, but it seems that the incidence of measles is on the rise again. And we've been talking about it a lot. I know you've heard about it by now. It's everywhere. Radio, television, people are talking about how measles is bearing back, is coming back. So we must all stay alert. The CDC has reported 301 confirmed measles cases across 17 states. And that's when I checked it on Friday. It might be different today. It's a moving target. But I can tell you this, the numbers are going up. They're not going down. They're going in the wrong direction, which means we must act. The CDC is continuously monitoring this. They're in communication with the folks in Texas, which is where it all jumped off. Mississippi is currently not on the list, at least not yet. But I guarantee you, should we hit that list, the Mississippi State Department of Health is going to be on it like 40 going north. Dr. Daniel Etney, our chief health officer, is not playing games. He is so serious about keeping Mississippians safe. And we all are, man. Listen, we're all out here in this thing called life. And so we must be aware. First of all, we got to be literate, got to be aware, got to be well informed. And when we learn better, we do better. We should anyway, right? So cases have been reported in 3 of our neighboring states, Georgia, Louisiana, Florida, right next door. Any of those people who are infected could cross that state line at any given time. So here are the big takeaways that I want to share with you about measles. It's highly contagious. Highly contagious. It's a respiratory disease. It's caused by a virus, microscopic organism. You can't see it with just your bare eyes. You got to have a microscope, microscopic. You need a microscope. You need very powerful lenses to see this pathogen. Measles causes fever, runny nose, cough, and body rash. Sounds nonspecific? Well, this rash is quite telling. About 1 out of 20 children with measles go on to develop pneumonia. You see, diseases left untreated, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, whether it's a woman who is eligible and at the right age to be considering breast cancer screening, not getting screened, whether it's a man who is not going for his prostate cancer screenings, whether it's any of us. Once we've reached the age of 40, the age has been changed for colorectal cancer screening. All of it. If it is not caught, if it is not attended to, it goes on to cause complications. So here it is. Children with measles can go on to have pneumonia. And I have a caller, it looks like, on line 1. I hope I get this right. Caller, you're on the air. You want to teach us something, or you want to ask a question or tell us a comment? You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. I can hear you.
Dr. Edney is on, Dr. Liddell.
Oh, I love it. Hey, Dr. Edney is his Kentrell. What's going on?
Dr. Liddell, how are you?
I'm doing so well, man. Listen, your ears must have been ringing. I was just talking about you.
Uh-oh.
It was a good thing. We're talking about measles today. I mentioned how worried physician groups are about all the cuts that's happening to Health and Human Services. And then I moved into talking about that FDA new approval that happened here with that home test for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trick. And so we've talked all about that, and we've been well informed about it. Now we're talking about this monster called measles that is coming back with a vengeance. And Dr. Edney, what say ye about our status here in Mississippi?
Well, right now we are okay with our vaccination rates being high enough to protect our little ones, but those numbers are dropping since we had a federal court order forcing us to recognize religious exemptions. And we are trying to be vigilant about it. But the main thing I say is protect your little ones. And your best way to protect them against measles, which can be deadly to little ones, is to have them vaccinated. However, the first MMR dose is not due until 12 months.
That's right. So
we've got to protect our babies from getting measles, which absolutely can kill them, by the rest of us being vaccinated, which is how it has always worked in Mississippi. Dr. Liddell, we haven't had a case of measles in 40 years in this state.
I realize that.
Much less an outbreak. And one big worry I have that the medical community has is unless you're an older doctor like myself, our doctors have never seen measles unless they've seen it on a mission trip.
No, I mean, I hadn't seen it. I actually was taught that we had it beat, but when I was studying medicine at the University of Iowa College of Medicine, and then when I came home and did residency over at UMC, I mean, I thought that there may have been some patients who had it because I saw the rash, but there are rashes that resemble measles, you all. And when Dr. Edney gets done talking to us today, I'm going to share some of that with you. Go ahead, Dr. Edney.
So the states that are having trouble are states that have concentrated populations that tend not to be vaccinated, especially in Texas. Mennonite community, Amish communities tend not to vaccinate nearly as much. But we're in Mississippi, we're having Montrose and North Jackson, Madison, Ridgeland area with more, and also the Hattiesburg area with concentration of families that are choosing not to vaccinate. So from my standpoint, I have a duty to protect all the children, both vaccinated and unvaccinated. So we are encouraging everybody the safest way to protect your children is to vaccinate them. But if you're not going to vaccinate, then please be careful and don't try to purposely expose your children to dangerous diseases like measles or whooping cough or diphtheria. Thankfully, we're not seeing any diphtheria, but we're seeing more cases of whooping cough than we have in quite a while, and mostly in unvaccinated children. So very much a concern. The health department is on top of it. We're looking at wastewater surveillance so we can look for cases that maybe haven't been identified and to alert the medical community. We have the ability to vaccinate quickly anyone who chooses to do so in the case of an outbreak.
And Dr. Atney, and Dr. Atney, people can get vaccinated at the health departments, isn't that right?
Absolutely. Every day of the week. And our family medicine doctors, our pediatricians are able to vaccinate our children through the Vaccine for Children's program with us. And then any of the county health departments are very happy to vaccinate. It is still required to go to school or to be in daycare that you have to be vaccinated fully, and if you are choosing not to do that, you have to go through the religious exemption process and be waived at that point. But Dr. Liddell, but our listeners may think that 97.5% is really high, and it is compared to other states. But we used to be over 99% vaccination rates with our children, which made us number one in the country. Now we're number 3. Okay. That number continues to go down, and once we fall below 95% vaccination rates with our children, that's when we'll start seeing it.
We're in trouble. Dr. Eddie, that's one thing. I mean, there are so many things I appreciate about your administration of our State Department of Health. But one of the things is a demonstration of what you just did. You stated the facts. We used to be number 1 in terms of vaccination rates, and now we're number 3. And so you keep us informed. We can act on accurate information. And so I know that you've already, and if not already, I know you're in the process of pulling together a committee or a council or some sort of task force, as you did with syphilis, to stay abreast of this measles outbreak. I did note that one case has not been reported yet, but are your health departments on par to report should they encounter a case? And how should providers out in the community report?
Yes, it's Mississippi state law that any suspected measles case must be reported to the central office health department where I am. And so typically what happens if a physician were to suspect it, as soon as they order the diagnostic test, the health department will be alerted by the lab, and usually the doctors will call us.
Beautiful.
Thus far, all these suspected cases, thankfully, have been negative, but we have to stay on guard. Just because we haven't had a case in 40 years doesn't mean we're going to make it another 40.
That's right.
It is important. Please don't wait till kindergarten time to catch your children's vaccinations. Keep them on schedule, either through your family medicine doctor, your pediatrician, or come to the health department, and we will keep them on schedule for you and keep them safe. We don't want to wait until they're 6 years old to start their vaccination schedule.
I'm glad you said that. And Dr. Atney, I'm not going to say this just because you're on the line, but you need to know. You need to know that the health department over there in the Jackson Medical Mall, man, they are hitting on all cylinders. I went there to get my COVID vaccination, and oh wow, they treated everyone who was in the lobby like rock stars. Like they were happy that we were there, and they were attentive, and it was just a marvelous experience. So I've been sharing with folks, at least during the literacy hour, that the health department is an excellent place to receive their primary health care. So, Dr. Etney, any parting words? Because I don't want to take up all your evening. I'm just so honored that you called in
Well,
to join in on the conversation.
and happy to anytime, Dr. Liddell. And I appreciate you sharing that part of the Hinds County Health Department at the Jackson Medical Mall. We also have the Crossroads Clinic at the Jackson Medical Mall, which is our HIV STI clinic, which is extremely confidential, and you don't need to worry about any privacy issues if you go to any of our health departments or to the Crossroads Clinic. And I want to reinforce my dedication to our presence at the Jackson Medical Mall. We are not going anywhere. In fact, may expand our footprint at the medical mall. To me, that is a very important location where public health needs to be at work. We are proud to be there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Etney, and thank you for that commitment. Keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to continue to support out here in the community. God bless you, sir. Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening. I know we've had several other callers while Dr. Etney was on the line. Feel free to call back in. He enlightened us as he always does. I know he mentioned whooping cough, and he mentioned that in passing, but it was so important. Whooping cough, for those of you who don't know, is also known as pertussis, and it's a highly contagious bacterial infection. Okay, it's different from the infections we've been talking about today that are caused by viruses. Bacteria and viruses are not the same thing. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you for listening to the Dr. Frank McCune Show.
Good evening, Dr. Liddell. How are you?
I am doing well, ma'am. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for listening to the show. What do you have to share with us today?
It's always good to hear you on the radio. But I have a question for you, Dr. Liddell.
Okay.
It's going to be in particular as it pertains to the your test taking solution.
Oh, good.
I want to know, can you help individuals who's dealing with test anxiety, like myself, me being as old as I am, and me being have completed a master level program, and I just need the exit exam to get that degree in my hand, but I have test anxiety. So what can you help me with that? And will your business be beneficial for me to come in so you can help me get past that so I can get that degree in my hand?
I would love to. We would love to.
I didn't want to ask you that, but I just need to hear your expertise on how you can come in, how you can help me with that. And yes, ma'am. I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna listen to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Wow, what a great question. And I'm so proud of her. You know, it just warms my heart when people realize where they're weak. You know, we don't know everything. And here is a beautiful young lady saying, listen, I'm smart. I'm experienced. I'm trained. I just hate taking tests. Well, I was right there with you a long time ago. And as a physician, I've had to take many tests, many tests, and to continue to do continual medical education, and then they'll post tests after that. And I'm very good at it now, and I've helped to train others to get good. So your question was, hey, could I potentially help you? Test Taking Solution LLC has excellent professionals whom I've personally trained to assist people from levels K through 12 and beyond. We help college level students, master level, doctoral level students. I'm very blessed. I have been invited. This is my third year serving as a preceptor for Mississippi State University's MBA students during their capstone project. So we help them as well. It's what we do. Let me tell you, the root of test anxiety is fear. Fear that you're going to fail that test. And the root of that is inadequate preparation. Yeah, once I got a handle on where all this stuff was coming from, I was then able to address those issues. And that's what we will do with you. We will just meet and talk and see, where do your issues lie? Is it that you are just inadequately prepared? And the more you prepare, the more you learn the concepts and the topics, the better prepared you'll be. And you wouldn't be anxious going in to take a test. You're not anxious to do that which you know. We tend to be anxious about things we're not quite sure about. Okay. So we would have to ensure that we are ready for the test. Okay. So that's my response. You certainly can call Test Taking Solutions 601-714-TEST. That's 8378, those last 4 digits. 601-714-TEST. 8378 any day, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we'll be glad to talk with you further about it. Now, before that caller called in, I was telling you a little bit about whooping cough, because they named it how it sounds. It sounds like a whoop. They're just coughing like they're having basically a coughing fit. And it's caused by a bacteria, like I said, and that bacteria is Bordetella pertussis. So whooping cough is also known as pertussis. It spreads from person to person. You see how a lot of these diseases are respiratory in nature? Okay. So that's why I stress to my staff and also to the students to practice social distancing. You don't need to be right up in somebody's face talking to them. All right. All these viruses and bacteria, which are spread by respiratory droplets, coughing, sneezing, breathing. I don't need you up in my space. Okay, I'll put a mask on in a minute to try to protect myself and you from something that I might be carrying. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Dr. Liddell. This is Gloria McCune.
Oh, I wish you were here.
You wish I was there?
Don't you know we would be having a ball right now?
Well, I can come by. You know, I'm not very far away. Do you need me to come by?
You know, I love talking to you, man. We bounce stuff off each other. What, we got 17 minutes? I don't want to stress you like that.
Oh, Lord have mercy. 17 minutes.
I'll
be right there.
Look,
I'll be right there.
Okay, great. The time sure does fly. Everybody, that's Sister Gloria McCune. What an angel. And I'm so glad she called in. She's on her way. So I know she's going to have something great to share with us. Listen, let's keep talking about measles, because I want to raise the alarm. The CDC has reported 301 confirmed cases. And you heard Dr. Etney say it, and I had already shared it with you. We don't have a case in Mississippi yet. And I need to knock on wood, scratch a tree, pray, get on my knees, do all the other things that may keep that bad omen away, because we don't want it here. Man, measles spreads like wildfire. It is very, very contagious. Evidence shows that it stays in the air for up to 2 hours. Did you hear me? Something that will stay in the air for up to 2 hours? Man, we don't need to be playing games with that, right? So after the infected person has moved on, if they sneezed or coughed or even breathed, if they breath in the air, that measles virus is still hanging around. It has the potential to spread extremely fast. If you have received 2 doses of measles, mumps, rubella, MMR, check your immunization record. Just pull it out. I know you got it. Some of you do. And for those of you who don't, get your immunization record. It's some things that we just need to have with us. Put it in a file. Put it somewhere you could easily put your hand on it. You can get that too from the health department. Yeah, they can pull it out. You might not remember getting vaccinated when you were a baby, but I bet you there's a record of it if you were vaccinated and did not take the religious exemption. So go make sure that you have been vaccinated with that MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. It's your best protection against this monster that I call the measles. Okay. Because the viral infection has had such a low incident rate, most U.S. physicians have never treated a case of measles in their career. You heard Dr. Etney and I talk about that very fact. A lot of us have not even seen it. And I did share with him where, I thought that some patients, my little smart self as a little medical student, thinking I'm smart and read what's in the books. And then I saw somebody come through with this little rash and I just knew that, wow, here's a case of measles. So of course I gloved up, protected myself, and then learned from my faculty that it was roseola. Okay. And so that's just another type of infection that can resemble the measles. Rubella, German measles, and something called fifth disease, erythema infectiosum. But we're not going to go further into that today. I just want you to be informed and to stay alert. Symptoms include high fevers. I'm talking really high fevers, like greater than 103 degrees, right? And that's Fahrenheit, and that's in adults. Children can get up that high too, and it's not terribly unusual, but when adults get temperatures that high, please note that it is unusual. It's usually a sign of an infection, and most often that infection is viral in nature. Then there's the rash that starts at the hairline, even behind the ears and the neck, and this might be difficult for some patients to see. And that rash tends to travel downward to the trunk and then outward to the arms and the legs. Listen, I told you, any virus that can hang in the air for upwards of 2 hours, man, we got an issue on our hands. So I'm so glad that we were able to talk about it today and to share with you just how contagious it is. If you had 10 unvaccinated people in a room and one person walked in with measles, let me tell you, 9 people would become infected. And it looks like my dear friend, Sister Gloria McCune, has entered the building. So you know what? I'm going to take a quick break here if you don't mind, and I'm going to let her in. Come on in.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I was trying to protect myself from the measles that hangs around in the air. And, we're going to practice some social distancing as well. But I'm so glad to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yes,
I'm so thankful that you sat in for us today.
Yes.
You have so much information all the time. I almost green with envy because, Michael and I come in with the obituaries, and that's about as far as we get.
No, I listen and I'm enlightened every time. No, ma'am, that's not true. I'm not gonna subscribe to that notion.
Stay on the radio. But anyway, I've learned a lot. When my children were growing up, we that month measles and rubella shot. You couldn't go to school unless you had your shots. Of course, that was before they made the exception.
See,
and that's what got rid of the people. Don't even know what it looks like anymore. But polio, when I was a baby growing up, and people had polio, and all of these diseases. I remember when. Oh my goodness, when my brother Frank used to practice, there would be so many different kinds of stuff going on with people, and they would just be sitting in the waiting room waiting to be seen. That's an era gone by. And with all of these cuts in our health care and health providers, how do we need to be more diligent? You said get those health records out, go to the health department. They know if you've had your shots or not. But what should we do? This is a serious situation.
It's very serious.
Well, you got one person there left to do the work of 5 other people. What can they do? What can we expect of them?
It's so tough. And but you mentioned the name of a man that just made me smile, Dr. Frank McCune. That was your brother. And I'm just so excited that this show continues in its name's sake.
It's God. It's God. It's God. It's God. There's no doubt about it. And
Dr. McCune is probably smiling.
Prayers. Oh my goodness, you don't know the prayers that my mom and daddy sent up for that young man. But it's all God's show. I mean,
Yes.
Michael and I follow each other all the time. We just
Yes.
stumble and bumble along, and yet we're still people still listen. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it, Michael. Can you?
I
Try to
love
be
it.
like Frank.
I love it. He's just like him, just that protege. But what must we do? We have to first be informed, Sister Gloria. You know that as a former educator yourself. You got military experience. It's not much you don't know. So you already knew the answer to that when you asked me the question, because that's the kind of teacher you are.
It's going to be important.
We have to be informed.
We got to do what we got to do.
But aren't you excited that we have WMPR 90.1 FM
absolutely.
being the voice of the community?
Absolutely.
People can tune in,
Absolutely.
even if they can't read.
Absolutely.
People can
They
tune
listen.
in. There you go.
Mhm.
And so we have to meet people where they are.
Absolutely.
And we cannot keep assuming that everybody can read and everybody
can comprehend these words that you're
They-
using, and you stop and explain every word you use. I'm thinking so much that
It's
it
health-
satisfies my heart.
Health literacy.
Yes.
I didn't always know. I had to get trained.
Mhm.
And so I dare not let this training go to waste.
Oh,
God is so
absolutely.
good.
Yes.
And I'm just so excited about it. Listen, for those of you, while we're talking about literacy in the few minutes we have left, if you are the parent, grandparent, guardian, teacher, or an administrator of a first through a fifth grader, the Test Taking Solution Foundation needs your help. We want to adequately and appropriately expand our after-school program to 523 West Mays Street in Jackson. We're working with a fine group of MSU MBA students. MSU stands for Mississippi State University, Hail State. And we're working with them. They're working with us on a strategic plan. Just like I did last week, I shouted out their names. I want to publicly acknowledge my alma mater, MSU's College of Business. Also want to acknowledge these MSU MBA level students, Miss Chelsea Francois, who grew up in the Verdon Addition, the Georgetown neighborhood, and whose family still resides there. It's been such a joy to have her on the team. Mr. Corey Petro, Mr. Kyle Leonard, Miss Rebecca Matoya, and Mr. Matthew Roel. They also have a faculty member who's over them, and it's Dr. Robert Otondo II. Listen, Jackson, we have put up the survey on our social media page, Facebook, Instagram, and some of you have already responded. Thank you so very much. I'm just tired of folks building stuff without us, doing stuff for us without us. We need to have some input. So your input is vitally important for how we decide to expand and scale this program. Effective community-based after-school programs are proven to help boost students' academic performance. And so this is where we learn and pick up additional life skills, if you will. You heard Sister Gloria McCune speaking a moment ago just about how important it is for us to be informed. So here's how you can help the Test Taking Solution Foundation to make our accelerated, community-based after-school program that I like to refer to as ACAP a reality. I want you to respond to those 5 questions. It's a short survey. Try to do so by April the 4th. It contains, again, just 5 questions. And we uploaded links to the survey on our social media, also on our website. And I thank you in advance. Speaking of after school program, there's so many educational support resources that we use to train our scholars. And they will be available on our table at the upcoming ASGen 6th annual South Jackson Parade. It's the Association of South Jackson Neighborhoods. Have you heard about that, Sister Gloria?
Yes, ma'am. I think they do this once a year.
They sure do, and it's well attended. And so this year we're going to have a table there, and we're going to put our sight words on the table. We just recently had a 3rd grade reading gate test prep boot camp. It was well attended. The children did well. We're still getting some feedback from the families. They're saying that their children are more attentive in school, more confident. We just had them a week, but it's something about, and you know about this, when you when you really speak good things over people's lives, when you believe in them, you boost their confidence.
You're absolutely right. I'm having that experience at my local church. The children were looking down, talking softly with lack of confidence. And we began to tell them, you have so much to offer. Look at you. And then they're like, you mean I am somebody special? Yes, you are. You are absolutely somebody special. And after 3 or 4 weeks, they started to talk up and present themselves. And we asked the Sunday school, the children have done this, they've done that. Everybody started opening their wallets. What do they need? Here it is. Here's the money. I'm telling you, let these people see what these children are doing if you can. And just say, this is what they will do. When we just give them just a little bit of confidence to let them know who they are and what they're capable of. And that's what you're trying to do in such an intense way. I'm so proud of you. And thank you so much.
Oh, we love
We
them.
need it so much.
Oh, we have so many examples.
And when they flower, it's the most gratifying.
It
It is the most gratifying feeling in the world when they act up and do what you have expected of them. It's the most gratifying thing in the world. It really is.
They come through the door talking about their own behavior.
Yes.
I did this in school today, and I should have not done that. I shouldn't have let that.
And correcting others. I told such and such she needed to sit down and be quiet. Well, good for you. Now you are
the leader.
Yes.
So we're nurturing leaders.
Yes.
This morning during the literacy hour, I talked about some legislation that has passed here recently. I've been bill watching, and I like to do that every year. And I started that at the start of the 2025 legislative session. There were a lot of things that got updated with barbering and cosmetology. We're talking about people's livelihoods.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we shared information about that and felony suffrage, and how there are some that still don't want folks to get up after they've already served time and done what they're supposed to do.
It boggles my mind.
I don't understand. But we said we're a Christian state, though. Didn't we say we love the Lord? And
yes.
we're the hospitality.
We have a church on every corner.
But why do we lie? Well, we don't have enough time. It's 6:57. We don't have enough time to talk about
we
it.
always have an influencer. We have to be careful every moment of who we let influence our thoughts.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I'm saying?
I knew.
No, you know right from wrong. Don't think that way.
I knew you. Well, so, they introduced a bill to let folks be able to vote after they have completed their sentences and not committed another crime for 5 years.
That
and
bill
then
passed.
Well, no, Senate Constitution Chair Angela Burks Hill. I don't know her, but she's from Picayune. She killed the House proposal without bringing it up for a vote. And I just want our people to understand the civics of it, that this is how bills become law.
Do we need to go down there?
Well,
because I would start yelling from the balcony. No, that's why I don't go. I have too little. So
I think you have a lot of self-control. You just don't like wrongdoing, but I think you have
do we need to show up?
I think you have a lot of self-control. And I believe that at some point we do need to show up about this. Look, there are some other bills of great interest that have now become law. And two from last year that I brought up that we may have missed. House Bill 1088. One thing it does is authorizes the circuit court to proceed with commitment procedures for any person who has an intellectual disability and they might have unresolved felony charges. This bill that has become law was signed into law in 2024 by Governor Tate Reeves, authorizes the circuit court to go ahead and commit them. We're committing our way out of folks' issues and out of life. Oh, I like the way you said that.
Out of life.
House Bill 1640, it requires completion of a pre-affidavit screening before any affidavit for commitment is filed. It requires community health, that's mental health centers, to conduct a preliminary investigation before an affidavit for commitment is filed. It's just getting harder and harder to be able to get your family some help. Okay, so I'm following Senate Bill 2248. It's the Fresh Start Act, and it's still alive. Thank God for Senator Daniel Sparks and Senator David Blunt. We're talking bipartisanship here. House Bill 1, the Build Up Mississippi Act, income taxes, sales taxes, public state employees retirement system. It passed.
Yes, it
The governor has signed it into law. And House Bill 1387, the foster children bill, and it amended one of our codes that will revise which relatives can now receive reimbursement for the care of foster children. For a while now, grandparents couldn't get anything for helping to take care of their own kids. Listen, we don't have enough time. We're out of time. Sister
Come
Glory,
back next week,
it's
baby.
been just a joy.
Come back next week.
Thank you for
So
having
you
me.
can finish this.
Oh, God bless you all. Y'all have a great rest of your evening. Drive safely if you are on the roads. And I was just about to say go vote, but if you're in the line to vote, stay there.
Yes.
You
Yes.
are legally allowed to cast your ballot.
Yes.
Good evening, Jackson.
Amen.